Let's go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome everyone. And thanks for being here today at today's webinar. We're going to be learning how Maranatha Christian Schools build student camaraderie with House Points. My name is Matt. I'm the founder and CEO of LiveSchool and really thrilled to be here to learn with you from today's presenter, Kelly. Today, we'll be learning from Principal Kelly Rodriquez, how her team built a culture of camaraderie and support across all grade levels and teaches and promotes good behavior. Very important as well. Kelly is going to cover it all. So we'll learn about building teacher buy-in, setting your school's behavior rubric, tracking data, and lots of time at the end for Kelly to answer all of your questions. Before we get started, I wanted to share just a really quick story about how we met Kelly. Our team at LiveSchool sent out a survey to all our partners about their successes this school year, and one teacher wrote this: House Points has created a lot of unity and camaraderie in our middle school. It is noticeable and really fun. And when we spoke to this teacher to learn more, she told us all about her incredible principal and how her principal had led the charge to adopt House Points to celebrate and motivate students. That principal, of course, is Kelly Rodriquez, who's our presenter today. A little bit about Kelly. Kelly is a junior high principal at Maranatha Christian Schools after serving as director of curriculum and instruction for 3 years. Kelly is a classroom veteran, so knows what it's like to be in the classroom, having taught English literature for 12 years. And fun fact about Kelly, she is a former journalist for 7 years after receiving her BA from Point Loma Nazarene University in San Diego. So we're so fortunate to have you, Kelly. Thank you so much for being here. As Kelly presents, everyone feel free to ask questions in the chat for Kelly, for LiveSchool. Before we begin, I do want to also briefly introduce my colleague, Spencer, who's going to be helping answer questions in the chat. And Spencer has his own connection to school culture. So Spencer, do you mind a brief intro?
Yeah, good morning and afternoon, everyone. I'm Spencer. I'm the Director of Partnerships here. I am a former teacher coach, and PBIS coordinator. I was the guy at my school printing out all the Bulldog bucks for teachers to hand out to students. So I'm a big fan of what we're doing, and kudos to all of you who are either just embarking on the PBIS or points-based house system process or in the thick of it and have already created that buy-in. I'm really excited to talk more with y'all, and feel free to message me directly about any interest in the platform or any questions you have.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Spencer. And without further ado, Kelly, thank you again so much for being here. The floor is yours.
You guys, I'm so excited you're here. Building a house system was something I honestly never thought I would do, and it is honestly rocking our school in such a good way. I had 2 speakers yesterday in chapel, and they're like, who came up with this? This is amazing. And I'm like, ugh. I'm still like holding my breath because waiting for it to like topple on me, but it isn't. Kids are in it. And so I'm hoping to share my journey with you and kind of how we did it. And we'll go from there. Spencer, I love that you just said you were printing things. That's the system we came off of. We were printing Talon tickets. And I remember a teacher saying in a meeting, I just can't pass out another piece of paper. Like kids were losing them, and we found them all over the school. And I actually have a really good photocopied student plagiarized one on my board right now that I keep for fun. So doing and laminating. I love that someone just said and laminating. Yes. So going paperless, especially after COVID, was something that I wanted to look into. It wasn't my driving factor, but really something I wanted to look into. So I'm going to share my screen. I've taken all this came from, so I can start off. It's not my idea. Obviously, we all think Harry Potter. We all think Oxford University, if you've ever walked the streets of Oxford, is also put into houses, right? They go, or colleges, but they're the same. They wear their colors, probably where J.K. Rowling got it from. And so Ron Clark University, I have all his paperwork. You guys can go look it up if you need to, has a huge program that he's put out. And I was so overwhelmed by it. So I read about it and worked through it, and I made it for my small, I have 230 kids in junior high. And so we're rolling with that, and they are loving it. So I took something huge and big and felt I don't know if I can do this, and made it into our own, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So here's what we did. Our house system is made up of 4 houses. It is, I always tell the kids we're 4 houses, 1 family. So we're in competition, but we're working together. I told this to Matt when we talked a while ago. I had a parent sit in my office a couple years ago now and said, "How are you teaching kindness?" And I thought, we are a private Christian school. We teach kindness every day. And I realized that we don't teach kindness, right? And on that level of all the time with everybody. We might teach it in the moment. It might be an object lesson, but we're really not teaching kindness. That really stuck with me. And I thought, how can we do this? How can I get a 6th grader to talk to an 8th grader? How can I get an 8th grader to mentor a 6th grader? And so houses were a huge building block for us, and not having 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. And so we have 4 houses. They are all intermixed. They are all equal. They are as equal as I can get them, student-based, and as equal as I can get them distributed by grade level, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And I'll walk through that. So I think it's hugely important that they are a mixed group of students. So as you're kind of thinking along with me, notice that that's a really big portion. So here's how I'll introduce to you my houses so you understand kind of where we're going. So I have 4 houses. We have Borealis, Loma, Vanguard, and Odyssey. They are 4 colors. They each have their own thing. They each have their own crest that they go by. Their crests hang in the locker hall. Their crests hang in chapel and assemblies. They go with them wherever they go. And so that they know, kids know where to sit. Kids know where their house lead is. So they follow these crests. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into each one. In creating the houses, it was really important to us that each house had just like Harry Potter, had a reputation. So part of those ones that we wanted to build is we came up with 4 traits we wanted our kids to have. That was something I did with a couple of teachers. We came up with what are things that we think are lacking in our students and what traits can we bring out. And so for Borealis, their trait is integrity. And this will come into play later when I talk about the rubric. So their trait is integrity. Their symbol is a compass. This year, our school theme is anchored deep. So all of our houses were built off a Mariner theme. So we've got Borealis with its, this is the actual logo you see most of the time around campus. It's on their shirts. It's on everything they have. Loma is obviously cardinal red. Its trait is reliability. Something that we really didn't see in our students that we're honestly seeing this year a lot more of, because there's a very intentional push towards being reliable, and their symbol is the lighthouse, strong. We have Odyssey, who's forest green, and there's perseverance, right? We were like, grit, perseverance. What's something our kids are missing, especially after the pandemic, just really buckling down and getting their stuff done. So we've seen this, and their symbol is the journey. And then our last, did I go through all 4? Oh, Vanguard. There we go. I missed one. They are courage, and they're yellow. And so all things that we need our kids to have. So we went through and we picked 4 traits. Those 4 traits play a role in our whole program. So of those houses, I always tell them they're one family. So yes, we are competing as 4 different houses for 1 prize at the end of the school year, but we still operate as one school. This isn't like, I didn't want to have like turf wars, it's fun to have those competitions. It's fun to do those things, but you do want to have that also. All 4 houses we're still the Maranatha junior high family, right? We're still one team working out together. So I did that through our symbols. I linked them together for them, that you can't have one thing for your journey of junior high. You need the compass, you need the lighthouse, you need the ship, and you need the journey to work together to accomplish the goal. So every house plays a role towards this overall mission that we're working towards, right? And this year's is anchored deep. And so every person's playing a role. Every trait that you have is playing a role. It's real. We've seen a huge bonding over this, and kids understanding, and then understanding all 4 roles that they have to play out. So here's how it works. You're like, okay, that's great. You have houses. Here's how it works. I mean, you could be anything. Let's go right. You could be the lions, tigers, bears, and I can't come up with
Cheetahs.
Yeah. I was like, why can't I think of another animal? All I had was monkey. And I'm like, that's a terrible one. So, right, cheetahs, you can do whatever you want. You can just have it colors. You can be however your house are. But once you get those, you're like, what do I do with them? And that's how I was. I had all this like writing on paper and I was like, awesome. Well, what do I do with it? And now I got to sell it to 200 something kids and 20 something teachers. And how is that going to work? Right. So here's how in practicality it works. So they receive house points. And so I'll talk to you how you actually log house points, but they can get house points for anything at any time during the day. Really, like I've labeled it out that good character, academic excellence, school spirit, outstanding performance, team effort, humility, compassion, any of the traits of the house, but really for anything. So as a kid is going about their day, a teacher can just give them a house point. And they can give TA can give them as they're walking to the locker hall and they notice they pick up trash, they can give them a house point. So they can earn it for mostly any time, which this is the key for houses. That keeps the competition going at all times. So this doesn't just happen in assemblies and chapel. This doesn't just happen when we're having a house meeting. This is happening all the time. At all times, kids are earning points and the points are growing and they're gaining. So once kids can know they're kind of being watched, and I have them being watched by everybody. So for us, we use the LiveSchool app. I'll talk a little bit about how we do that and track points. But teachers have it. Our teachers' assistants have it. Our office staff has it. Our school nurse has it. Our substitutes are given it. I have it. Our assistant principal. Anywhere they go, from the lunch tables to the gym to their classroom, they can be given points. They do not have to be told. So they can just, someone can be like, that was an awesome thing you did. And there, and up it goes. And so kids love that they're being watched and rewarded for that, right? LiveSchool does positive and negative behavior. We chose just to reward the positive, right? If we're talking about PBIS, I love that we just did the positive. That I was really nervous if we did negative points, their buy-in wouldn't be as big. I think for us, that's worked. This is something that is for positive only. We've kept our negative demerit system as its own thing. It has nothing to do with your house. So I actually had a TV installed in our junior high hallway that the house points are live, which is awesome. They love looking at that. There is a screen where the house points, there's a dashboard. So those pop up as they're walking through the hall so they can actually see who's in the lead. Anytime a student gets a point, it kind of like pops up on the bottom. So what I've seen through our hallway is kids being like, oh my gosh, Tommy, you got us points, like high-fiving. And that's an 8th grader to a 6th grader or a 6th grader to a 7th grader. And that's something I was really looking for, was those moments where they could cheer each other on. They could, and be, there is the like, oh, our house is better. It's great. It's all in good fun. Right. But they're cheering each other on, and they have, it's vertical, like, and horizontal alignment of student kindness and student togetherness and student growth. So knowing that anyone can give it all time, knowing that they're being watched has really helped them. So we're like, awesome, they get all these house points. Well, what do we do with them? Right. So we have a student store. We let kids buy from the student store. 40 house points. You can buy something from the student store is how we do it. It's like a bag of chips. That's kind of the one tangible thing they can get. They actually earn a house shirt. I should have changed it and then buy. When they get so many points, we give them a house shirt that has their logo on it that they can wear to assemblies and chapel. They can wear them on Wednesdays. We're a uniform school. So wearing their shirt with jeans is like the best thing ever. Every house competes for monthly prizes. Now, let me tell you about my monthly prizes. My monthly prizes are free. I'm like 15 minutes extra break, free dress. You can bring your games and hang out in this teacher's room at lunch and get to play games. And well, no one else gets to. I've done a couple things like popsicles or whatever, but for the most part, they love hanging out together. The biggest prize our houses can get is 15 minutes extra of lunch. And I go out there with the assistant principal and we watch those kids and they thrive. And then on top of that, it builds more team camaraderie, right? It builds more house camaraderie, all the things that they're striving for. That's what they're doing. So there is a redeem portion of Live School where you just take it away. And so they see that they bought time, right? If you're taking points away for that, like, oh, you bought chips from the student store, we took your 40 points. The amazing thing is it takes it from the student and not from the house. So the house points stay the same no matter what, but the student is getting an individual prize. So we have students who have, some teachers have homework passes that they can buy or extra time for like on rainy days, they'll do some things. So they can buy things. It keeps, again, house points stay stagnant. They know the house never loses. The student gets to their own individual kind of reward for helping the big bucket. So that's something that we've seen too. It's building a lot of student confidence in their own. Like I've earned this. I can go do this with those points. I can go buy a jeans day with my points because I earned so many points for my house, right? And then when they buy it, it doesn't take away from the house. So house competitions. How do we do it? How do you fit it into your crazy school day? We are academic. We are always in academics. It's something I knew my teachers would be really, the staff would really want to know. Like, I don't want this to take from my academics, right? So we have house competitions. They are done for the most part at chapels. We have chapel at our school every Wednesday. They are done for the first 10 minutes. Everyone has a house time and there's a competition. So whatever it is for the day, it's normally something that goes with that day's lesson that's happening in chapel. It's a game of some sort. It's quick, it's easy, it fits in a 10-minute span. At the very beginning of school, it was all get to know you games. It was like, find someone who's. We did seat competitions, like everyone in your house needs to line up tallest to shortest. Who does it the fastest? Everyone in your house needs to line up in birthday order. Who does it the fastest? Right? So those type of things. We do lunchtime activities. Our ASB has put on lunchtime activities, and those are all done for house points. And we've done any dress up days. Sometimes we do anyone, if you dress up, you get your house points. Anytime. House points are free. They're free to me and kids love them. So anytime I can drive that competition in them, I'm doing it. So of course you can get house points for that. The other day I needed like a bunch of chairs moved and I literally was like, house points for who moves the chairs, and they were gone. Right. I had like 500 chairs moved out of the way. So, and you see it, in that servant's heart, which I love in our students, because they're doing it for the betterment of a group of people, not just for themselves, which is always one of the best parts. So at the end of the year, which we haven't had yet, but we are planning our winning House Pennant party. The party will be, they'll be the winners. They'll be the VIPs. So they'll get VIP tags and they'll get to go to the food truck first. And so we're having all the things you think at the end of the year, blow ups, a food truck, games, and that they're saving their points. I have families donate. Last year we had a prize tent, and bucket hats were the thing last year. They bought bucket points with their house points. So kids are thrilled, right? And that's like the end of the year culmination, all parent donated prizes, and they get to do that. But at the end of the year, it's bragging rights. What house is going to win? And we do that every time we say it. Who's in the lead, who's winning. The amazing thing about Live School is that you can put house competition dates in. So our kids know who's won each month. We have a competition each month, which house earns the most points each month. But they have no idea who's been winning since August. They have no clue. I actually haven't looked it up in a long time, but if you just set the date back to August, it'll total their entire year up. So that's like, there is a huge anticipation about that because they only know who's won each month. So, I mean, that's great. Here's how you can do it. I think I just kind of talked about it, but daily, right? Each student is earning points just by being a good student, being a good steward, doing their things. Weekly, we have our chapel games. Monthly, we have dress up days. Last month, I put peep war. Last month, we hid paper peeps, like the candy around our school. And they like basically play capture the flag with them during lunch and at break, like protect your color, steal the other colors, and loved it. Super easy. And then by the semester, each semester we do something called Play for the Pennant. So Play for the Pennant is just we take a week, and this is where our teachers, they love that it's all outside of their classroom, right? So they're still earning their points daily, but then we do something that just really emphasizes points, and we give a lot of points out that week. So you got to keep the drive going. That's the key. It's the consistency that we need our teachers to have, and we want our teachers and our students to see in us. So I put up an example of Play for the Pennant. So you're like, what is she talking about? This is our one from last semester. One day they played Minute to Win It games at lunch. Easy. Our ASB helped put it on. They competed as houses, and they played Minute to Win It games. Whoever got it got their house points.
Hey, Kelly.
Yeah.
Really quick question. What is an ASB?
Oh, that's great. Yes. A student government. So, right. Associate student body. So we have 12 kids that sit on a student government. So I have a junior high president, vice president. And so they help. There's a director of activities. And so they help with all this stuff.
Awesome.
Did I answer that? Yeah. So they did the Minute to Win It games. They did a hunt, like I just talked about, the peep war. We did anything about a backpack, which is a TikTok sensation. If you don't know about that, our kids were thrilled with it. They bring anything but a backpack to school that day. I had wagons and little kid cars and fishing nets, and someone brought a piano bench, and that's how they bring their books to school. And then on Friday, we brought in a food truck. We didn't have school on Thursday. On Friday, we brought in a food truck, and they got to wear graphic tees. Again, a uniform school. Anytime they don't have to wear their uniforms. They love it. So we do this once a semester. It's coming up for us in the next 2 weeks. We're doing another Play for the Pennant, and it just puts the focus back on the competition. That's, because they're in academics all day long. So you want to make sure that those things happen. So as you're building, you're like, okay, house meetings, where are these? Where do we have? What do we do for them? Who plans them? I actually plan them for every week. I've just made it part of my duties. For us, it's the first 10 minutes of chapel. You could probably find 10 minutes anywhere in your day to do it. They don't need to be long. Again, at the beginning of the year, I did all get to know you stuff, all best teaching practices, right? We did anything, find someone who meet someone you've never met before and interview them, and we gave them questions. And so 10 minutes where they play a game, get to know people in their house, and they earn points for it. This is also the time when we celebrate our kids. So I have a teacher lead over each house, their house leads, and they, as kids earn points, we watch their points, and they can earn their house shirt. So once they've earned so many points, they've earned their house shirt. So during these meetings, we have like 3 or 4 minutes where each house lead gets up on the microphone, announces the people who've earned their shirt for the week. They run up, they get their shirt, and then they can wear it from then on out. So it's a little bit game and pep rally. And we've seen so much success in this. We're actually adding it into our schedule for next year. We're taking it out of chapel and we're putting it into our schedule. That they will go once a week. We're making it 20 minutes. And so I'm excited to see that happen. So kids, this is where they thrive. This is where I've seen like just really good, authentic relationship moments that would never have happened. A couple of weeks ago, I had a student who was just, you could tell was not her best day. She was sitting in chapel. She was isolated. She was off to the side. She is in 8th grade. The 6th grade student came up to her and was like, "What's going on? Are you okay?" And just gave her this pep talk. Like, it's going to be fine. Your math test, it was all about a test, right? And I just thought we never would have seen that. These two girls would never be in the same place at the same time as a 6th grader and as an 8th grader. And I walked away and just thinking, those are those authentic moments. Those are those kindness. I'm not getting up in front of our kids and being like, be kind to one another. But as they realize that their peers are humans too, and it's beyond their friend group, you see those moments. And I'm like, that's what I love. That's the stuff about the house that I love and I love to see. So House Pennant, it's what we're aiming for. Kids are super excited. It's the end of the year. We will have a House Pennant party, announce the house team at the very end. And this is that day. For us, it's like our end of the year barbecue. We bring everything out. That's our bounce houses, our prizes. We have craft tables. I have a parent action committee, like a PTA, that helps me put this on. And so it's based off mostly donations from our parents. And so our kids' final day of school, they get to come to the House Pennant party and just everyone gets to play and do their things. And the winning house gets to be the VIPs. So they get lunch first and they have an extra snack tent that's just for them, And if any of you teach junior high or with junior high, food is like the anchor to their soul. All you gotta do is feed them. So here's the key, right? How do you get teacher buy-in? How do you get buy-in from people? What I really noticed and what I really have respected and tried to respect is teacher time, right? So the amazing thing about LiveSchool is that it's an app on your phone. They don't have to log into their computer. They can if they want to. But like when we're at chapel or where our aides are out at lunch or where our nurse is in her office, she can just pull it up, give the point, and walk away. It's really simple and it's really easy in that regard. So making it so simple for the teachers will really help them out. LiveSchool also has a tracking device in it for the administrators. I can see who's using it, like how many days. So if a teacher isn't using it, it literally says like logged in 5 minutes ago, logged in 2 days ago, logged in 28 days ago, right? So if a teacher isn't using it, I don't have to say at a staff meeting, everyone needs to give class points. I can just go directly to that person and be like, hey, are you struggling with the app? Are you not seeing it? Have you just forgotten? So it's an individualized thing with teachers if I need to do that. And I did it at the beginning of the year, right? There's teachers like, oh, I just haven't gotten to that yet. Oh, I'll do it. And kids know who gives them and who doesn't give them points. So they're bugging them too. Like, are you going to give us points for that? So that also helps. The key to this whole thing is the rubric. I think if the rubric that you are giving kids and teachers is too hard, you would just drown. So I did my research and looked at hundreds, if not thousands of schools. We're all educators, so we love our, Google searches, and we're in the depths of other schools' work. And so I'm looking, people have like rubrics of like 500 things. People have rubrics of 2 things. And I'm like, what do you do? How do you do this? There's so many rubrics out there. We looked at so many, my assistant principal and we came down to 3 things. We have an award at our school that's a big award called the Barnabas Award. It's like the Servant Leaders Award. It's given at the end of the year. So one of our rubrics is Barnabas behavior. Are they acting servant-like? Are they acting kindly? Are they being a friend to all? So that's one. Our other one, we wrapped up the entire school day in being safe and being respectful. So the only 3 types of points they can get from anyone are Barnabas behavior, being safe, and being respectful. My rubric is really long. If you look at my rubric, because we did it by location. That was, in looking at all of our fellow schools out there who've done this before me, I went and looked, and a lot of people did it by location, which we've actually loved. So it literally, our rubric says, chapel, Barnabas behavior, be safe, be respectful. Outdoors, Barnabas behavior, be safe, be respectful. Locker hall, Barnabas behavior, be safe, be respectful. So all a teacher, all the nurse, all a TA has to do is be like, I saw someone doing something cool in the locker hall. They need to go to hallway, press what they were doing. They were being safe. They were being respectful. They were being kind. They click it and they're done. Kid gets the point. It's over. So we did 3 areas and then by location. I have, and my assistant principal have a couple extra rubric points for us for like house competitions. I have on my rubric, I have 100 points, 75 points, 50 points, 25 points for first, second, third, and fourth place. No matter what place you place, you get points. So those are big. Other than that, kids are earning points 1 point at a time, 2 points at a time. And that's okay because they're getting them all the time. A key thing that I got teacher buy-in was as we practiced. We practiced on each other during when they came back after summer, and then we had those couple of days of PD. I put all the teachers in the system as students, and we just practiced. And during the day, we'd give each other points, and I had prizes for them. So that got them used to practicing with the app. When we were out at lunch, we'd be like, I saw you doing something fun, and we realized how great it was to receive the points ourselves. Like we were adults who were like, I got a point, that's amazing, right? And we're like, this is going to work, right? So we practiced that much with the teachers. I then deleted that group, gave them their students, and off they were, off and running. Consistency. It's that what I said about they just have to keep doing it. I love that LiveSchool helps you track individual staff members. So you're only talking to the staff members who are not using it. And then you can just work with that. And then keeping those monthly prizes, keeping it in front of them, who they are, reminding them. All of our kids were given bands, like the little, one of these bracelet bands, like the Live Strong bands, with their house name. And then if you're caught wearing your band, your points double. So this helped us at first know who you belong to. So that was a helpful hint for us. It was also how they found out what house they were in. They were given their color band. And I always put, and this is right, good administration, inspect what you expect. So, and it's given all that. So I'm just making sure it's happening. And we know that that's just good administration. That's good leadership. Just making sure what's happening out there. Part of the reason I love it is I can give points. I can walk around. That was awesome. Great job. And it says who they get it from. So kids are learning staff members as well as each other. So it's really built a family at Maranatha. It's really, and junior high is such an awkward stage, as those of you who teach junior high know. And so it's been awesome to see that camaraderie between grade levels, between students and staff, and like the healthy competition that it all brings. So that's how I've done it. I'm leaving you with a make it your own. I read so many schools' houses. You should see my notes. I actually have them over here. I pulled them out. I was like, what? People have 12 houses. People have 3 houses. People paint the rooms the color. People do what fits best for your school. Make it as simple as possible. You can always add to it. Like next year, we're adding it into our schedule. And next year, I'm adding a house council with students that are going to be in charge of each house. just because it's gotten so big. I need the help. So, but I also throwing out my email address, and I'm going to answer questions too. But if you can have all of this, like if you're like, I like your houses, Kelly, they're yours. Like I created them in Canva this summer. It's my journalism background. I have a lot of design, but I will give them to you. You can have you can have my board presentation. You can have it all. I think so much of the teaching profession is steal and reuse and, make it best for you. So that's what I got.
Amazing. Thank you, Kelly, so much. That was action packed and so many great examples of what you've done with houses. We've had questions pouring in as you've been talking. Julie says, all caps, that would be so awesome. Would love all your slides. So the first question is from Julie. Does the whole team win the shirt at once, or is it per individual student?
We've done it per individual student. So the colors over the time have grown. So like in an assembly, like it's like 2 students, then 3 students, then 10 students. We try to give out 2 to 4 at a time, so it grows. I think you could do it either way. We have a culture here where kids have earned shirts in the past. There was a program in place where they earned a shirt. So we've just kept the earning of a shirt. That's because it's been part of our school culture.
Awesome. Well, I've got to say the questions are pouring in. We're going to try to keep up with all of them. Tara asked, are the house meetings all together or do you separate individually by house?
We are all together in one place, but we separate by house. So every house, I have a house pennant. I printed on canvas. I have one behind me. I was going to pull it out. It's rolled up. And they're on a pole, I think like a camp, and a kid brings it down every time. And the kids gather around that pole or flag. And so they're done all together, but separately. So I give the announcement, this is what today's house meeting is. And they just jump right in and they kind of do what they need to do.
Tara was also wondering, in a PK to 8th grade, for your advice, would you divide middle school and elementary? They normally do everything together.
I wouldn't. So I actually tried to get my other principals buy-in and they were like, you try it. So Ron Clark does it kindergarten through 12th grade, if you read his material. And so I say, go for it. I would do it. If I could, I would do it school-wide.
Love it. And Melissa was wondering, will you put students in a different house each year or are they going to stay put?
Oh my goodness, Melissa, that's the best question. We were just talking about that as a staff. So if you look out there, people do it all different ways. People change their houses every year. People don't change their houses every year. We are literally having a meeting. We're all going on, it's trip season, right? Everyone's leaving. I'm leaving next week with 8th grade. But then we're having a meeting when we get back to decide what to do. We're planning, from what I gathered at yesterday's meeting, to keep everyone in their house and just add 6th grade to the current houses because they're so strong because I'm like, if this is just like the worst idea we've ever had, we'll do new houses, but we're planning on keeping them because the camaraderie is so strong.
That's awesome. That's that strong that you you have to keep them. Nicolette asked, how do you decide what house they're in? Do you do a lottery? Is there a Harry Potter sorting hat that Miss Rodriguez does?
Yes. Okay. So Ron Clark does a spinning wheel and I was like, that's so cool. I don't know. Harry Potter private school can be received a little funny. So I was very careful. I put those bands in their locker. That's when they get their locker. That's how they found out their house. Their bands were inside. For us, LiveSchool does a random sorting. There's like a put your kids in house and like in groups, and it literally just sorts. That's what I did. They were so random. LiveSchool did it for me. The only thing I did was each house lead teacher. So 4 teachers looked over theirs, and we looked for like if there was any those grouping of kids, and we did a few movements just so we didn't have we didn't have that solid pack of girls or boys that are always together, and then that would ruin the dynamic. So we just did one check of the random sort, but other than that, it was random.
Awesome. Really great question from Jonathan. Do you have any thoughts on adding an academic related category to your points rubric?
Ooh, that's so good. I haven't. People do. I do have teachers who, like, if you get 100 on a quiz, they give points. They put it under being respectful as what they've decided. Yeah, they just put it under being respectful.
Cool. But Jonathan, definitely something that you can do and some schools choose to do. Tom had a great question, just getting logistical. How many students do you have per house? They currently have 4 houses, about 75 students per. They're trying to think through, should we go to 8? Do we want smaller cohorts within houses? How do you think about that?
So I'm like 56. So I'm like right under you. If you're 75, yeah, I'm like right under. I love the size they are. 75, I don't know, maybe 8 houses. People do up to 12, I think, depending on your school size. I've seen schools with 12 houses. So doing 8 houses. I do like smaller. It's nice. They build camaraderie. But then I think Ron Clark's school is huge and he's doing it with 4 houses and he has like 100 and 200 kids in a house. So I think I would go with school culture on that. Like how you think school culture would handle it.
Nicolette is wondering, I think this is a great question around, students' social and emotional development. How do you ensure that students earn enough points to get a shirt? Some kids would rather fade into the background. And she's wondering, how do you make sure that you're recognizing all students?
Yes, that's such a good question. I was really worried about that. There is my assistant principal and I pull, there's a report you can do in LiveSchool. There's a report you do like who's gotten the most points, because it goes the other way too. You're like, why does this kid have 300 points, one at a time, and this kid has 6, or who's gotten none, right? So there is something you can pull. We pull it every, I would like to say, probably every other month, and just look and make sure that no one's being completely like left out. If they are, we've had a couple cases where like this particular student is like so either one way or we've had it both ways. Like, why is this kid getting everything? And I just make note of it in a staff meeting. Just like, if anyone could watch out for Johnny, he really could use some points. I try to go do it myself, go walk around at lunch and catch them doing something good. That helps.
That's awesome. Thanks, Nicolette, for the question. We've got just 2 minutes left. I'm going to sneak in the last question, if that's okay. I am really curious about teacher leaders and the role of teachers in helping lead houses, and how is that something you've approached, and how has that gone?
Yeah. So teachers, I literally was like, please do this with me. Teachers, I have 4 teachers that are house leads, and then every teacher was put into a house beyond that. I let them choose if they wanted to, and if they didn't care, I just filled them in where they wanted. I gave them as much choice as possible. I have very competitive teachers as house leads. I don't know if that has helped. We had the peep war, and like 2 of my house leaders were like, we just backed away. Like Loma and Odyssey were at each other's throats. So, and they're like, but here's our 4 peeps, so they played, but they were, like, whoa. So it goes, the competition part drives adults too. Teacher leaders are awesome in this regard. When something happens, it's almost created another small group aspect. It might be a teacher you don't have. So I'm like, why don't you go ask your house lead that question? And teachers have loved that. That's something that teachers have really enjoyed, was those like mentoring moments of students potentially that they don't have currently, that they'll have later. And so that's been really, that's one of their, when I did a survey, that was one of their most positive things, is getting to know kids outside of the academic day.
Awesome. That's so helpful. Kelly, thank you so much for sharing your time with all of
You're
us. This has
welcome.
been just nonstop knowledge. There are a couple other questions coming in. We want to respect time, so we're going to wrap up here, but you should still be seeing on your screen Kelly's email, and she's been very gracious, willing to answer any questions, so feel free to reach out to her. We will share the recording link a little bit later today. And just want to thank you all for joining and for your interest in House Points and how to plan for school culture next year. We really appreciate you being a part of this. So thanks, everyone. And thank you again, Kelly.
Now you're welcome. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.